10 unexplained U.S. mysteries that will haunt your mind. Number 1. The man who watched his own funeral. Denver, Colorado, 1999. What if you attended your own funeral and no one could see you? In 1999, Mark Reynolds, a 42-year-old architect from Denver, was declared dead after a massive car crash on Interstate 70. His wife identified his body, his co-workers mourned, and a funeral was held just days later. But on the morning of the service, Mark woke up in a cheap motel room 50 miles away, alive, confused, and with no memory of how he got there. He turned on the news. The top story? His own death. Frantic, he called his wife. The line went dead. He drove straight to the funeral home, pushing through the crowd. His family, friends, even his mother were in tears as they stood over his closed casket. He shouted. He grabbed people's shoulders. No one reacted. It was like he wasn't there. Mark ran outside, gasping for air. That's when he saw a man watching him from across the street. A man who looked exactly like him. Before Mark could cross the road, his vision blurred and he collapsed. When he woke up, it was a week later, he was in his own home. His wife, stunned, screamed and fainted. They dug up his grave the next day. The casket was empty. Number 2. The Man Who Never Slept. Seattle, Washington, 2013. What if you never needed to sleep again? David Miller, a 33-year-old software engineer from Seattle, was in a car accident that should have killed him. But when he woke up in the hospital, he felt different. Doctors kept him overnight for observation, but David never felt tired, not once. Weeks passed, no sleep, no exhaustion. His energy never faded. Doctors were baffled, running every test imaginable. Then, things got strange. David started seeing figures, shadowy shapes standing in doorways, watching from corners. The less he slept, the more they appeared. At first, they did nothing. Then, they started whispering, "You're not supposed to be awake." One night, David turned off all the lights and stared into his mirror. That's when he saw it. His reflection, blinking. But he wasn't. Terrified, he checked himself into a sleep clinic. He lay in bed, pretending to rest. The moment his eyes closed, the whispering stopped. The figures vanished. Desperate, he forced himself to sleep. The next morning, David was gone. The security footage showed him lying in bed at 3:12 a.m. and then disappearing in an instant. He was never seen again. Number 3. The Phone Call from the Future, Boston, Massachusetts, 2001. What if your phone rang, and it was you on the other end? In 2001, Sarah Collins, a 27-year-old journalist in Boston, got a phone call from an unknown number. She answered. The voice on the other end was panicked, desperate. "Sarah, you have to listen to me. Don't take the job at Sentinel News. If you do, you won't make it past 35 inches. Sarah froze. The voice sounded just like hers. "Who is this?" she demanded. There was a pause. Then the voice whispered, "It's me." "It's you." The call disconnected. Shaken, Sarah told her best friend, who laughed it off. A cruel prank, maybe. But a week later, she got the job offer from Sentinel News. She turned it down. That same year, a tragic gas explosion leveled the Sentinel News office, killing half the staff. The youngest victim? A journalist who had just turned 35. Her name? Sarah Collins. Number 4. The Hotel That Traps You, Los Angeles, California, 1996. What if you checked into a hotel, but could never check out? In 1996, Jacob and Rachel Turner, a married couple from San Diego, were driving through L.A. when they stopped at a small roadside motel for the night. The place was old but clean, with a friendly manager who gave them a room 308. Everything seemed normal until morning. When Jacob stepped outside to get coffee, the entire motel parking lot was empty. No cars. No people. Just endless desert stretching in every direction. Panicked, he ran back inside. The hallway was different, longer, darker. The numbers on the doors had changed. Room 308 no longer existed. Rachel was gone. Frantic, Jacob ran from room to room, but every door led back to the same hallway. Over and over. Then he saw it. The front desk. The same old manager smiled at him. "Sir, you haven't checked in yet. Would you like a room?" Jacob screamed. He ran outside, straight into the parking lot of a completely different hotel. It was morning again. He had lost 6 days. Rachel was never found. And room 308? That motel never existed. Number 5. The Child Who Spoke a Forgotten Language. Utah, 2014. What if your child started speaking a language no one had spoken in centuries? In 2014, the Williams family from Salt Lake City noticed their 4-year-old son Noah talking in his sleep. At first, it was gibberish. But soon he was speaking fluently, in a language they didn't recognize. They recorded it and took it to a linguist. His face went pale. Noah was speaking Linear A, an ancient Minoan language that no one had fully deciphered. A language lost for over 3,000 years. When they asked Noah where he learned it, he simply said, "The tall man teaches me at night." Chills ran down their spines. That night they set up a baby monitor. At 3:33 a.m. they heard it, a deep, echoing voice, speaking back to him. Number 6. The Forgotten Town That Appears Once a Year. What if a town only existed for 24 hours? Every year on August 15th, travelers along Route 89 in Arizona report seeing a town that isn't on any map. Streetlights glow, diners bustle, and people wave. But by sunrise, it's gone. In 2018, 3 friends decided to stop and explore. They ate at a small diner, took pictures, and chatted with friendly locals. At midnight, they left. The next morning, their photos were blank. The diner's receipt had no ink. They drove back. The road was empty. Just endless desert. They were never able to find it again. Number 7. The House That Only Exists at Night. What if a house only appeared when the sun went down? In 2005, Emily Carter, a 29-year-old photographer from Portland, Oregon, was driving through the countryside at night when she saw something strange. An old Victorian house, fully lit, standing alone on an empty field. She pulled over to take a picture. The house wasn't on her map. No roads led to it. Curious, she walked up to the porch and knocked. The door creaked open on its own. Inside, the place was frozen in time. Furniture from the 1800s, a candlelit dining table, and the faint smell of burning wood. Then she heard it. Footsteps. A woman's voice whispered, "You shouldn't be here." Emily turned and ran. When she reached her car, she looked back. The house was gone. She checked her camera. The last photo she had taken, a single frame of a dimly lit hallway, with a figure standing at the end. Number 8. The Road That Loops Forever. What if no matter how far you drove, you always ended up back where you started? In 1997, Chris and Julia Martinez, a married couple from Austin, Texas, were on a late-night road trip through Nevada when their GPS glitched. They took a detour down a side road to get back on track. The road was empty. No cars, no signs, just endless desert. After 30 minutes, they passed a broken-down gas station. After another 30 minutes, they passed it again. They checked the odometer. They had driven over 40 miles, but were somehow back where they started. Panicked, Chris floored the gas pedal. The GPS kept recalculating. No matter how far they drove, they always returned to the same spot. Then Julia screamed. A man was standing in the middle of the road, staring at them. Chris swerved, and everything went black. When they woke up, it was morning. They were parked on the side of a highway, miles away from where they had been. Their gas tank was full, and the last thing on their GPS history, a route that didn't exist. Number 9. The voice that knows your secrets. What if someone or something knew everything about you? In 2011, Ryan Peterson, a 22-year-old college student in Chicago, got an anonymous call late at night. When he answered, a distorted voice whispered, "I know what you did." Ryan laughed it off as a prank, until the voice started naming details about his life, his childhood pet, his ex-girlfriend's birthday, the lie he told his boss that morning. Every night the calls came. Different numbers, different voices, but always the same message. I know what you did. Desperate, Ryan changed his number, got a new phone, even moved apartments. The call stopped. Then, one night, his roommate's phone rang. He picked it up, and his face went pale. The voice whispered, "Tell Ryan he can't run forever." Number 10. The photograph that shows your future. What if a single photograph revealed your fate? In 2016, Daniel Brooks, a 35-year-old journalist from New York City, was browsing an antique shop when he found a box of old Polaroid photos. One caught his eye. It was a blurry image of a man sitting alone on a park bench, wearing a gray coat. Daniel felt uneasy. The man looked familiar. Then he realized it was him. Same face, same jacket. But the photo looked decades old. He flipped it over. A date was scribbled on the back. March 14th, 2023. 7 years into the future. Disturbed, Daniel put the photo away and tried to forget about it. But as the years passed, something gnawed at him. On March 14th, 2023, he couldn't resist. He went to the park. At exactly 3:14 p.m., he sat down on a bench, wearing the same gray coat. He looked around. Across the street, in an antique shop window, a camera flashed. A young man inside picked up the photo. Daniel's heart pounded, because he knew. The cycle had just begun again. If you made it this far, keep your eyes open, because sometimes the strangest mysteries are the ones waiting for you. Like and share if you love mysteries.